Hello again. Today's video we're going to be going over the symptoms uh, and other things that arachnoiditis brings to us. Um, in my instance, there are several of these that apply. The biggest one being the electric shocks. At night, sometimes I'll feel like somebody has hit me in the back with a cattle prod, and it jolts me completely straight up out of bed. I have muscle rigidity. I don't know how to say the word, but they become very rigid. When I have these electric shocks, my legs will stiffen completely up, and afterwards I have the feelings of hurt muscles, obviously. But again, in this list, there's a lot of these things do apply to me, some don't. No two people are alike in their symptoms, although some people have a lot of the same symptoms. They also have other symptoms that I don't have, or their other friends don't have. It is a very crazy injury as the nerves and the spinal cord are trying to find ways to convey their messages back and forth to get around the injured area. And in doing so, it sends sometimes false signals, making us feel like sometimes we have pain or something has been injured somewhere along that pathway. Sometimes we really do have that pain. Sometimes it's just a fake signal. As arachnoiditis affects the central nervous system, it causes a lot of peripheral problems, if you were, that aren't real. Or are they? We fight with this, deciding each time we have something new, whether it's a real pain or if it's just the nerves trying to find a pathway around, again, the injured area. So I'm going to go through this list. The top thing on the list is extreme pain. And I'm talking about pain that is so bad that it makes some people want to end their lives. And people have. I myself am a survivor. Um, and it opened my eyes to how bad this injury really is. And believe me, it was a major eye opener. I have progressed to the point where I am on very high dose pain medicine um, and muscle relaxers, and I'm at that point where they're not really working much. Uh, so my pain is at a high level at all times. I do have some real nice sleep medicine that helps me, but it doesn't keep me asleep all night because the pain wakes me up constantly. Excuse me. The next thing I want to talk about, which I've already mentioned, is muscle stiffness. That comes from that electrical feeling. It comes from the legs not getting the nutrients and the oxygen through the nervous system that they're supposed to get. By the nerves being cut off by scar tissue, the nerves going down into your legs, or if you have cervical arachnoiditis, into your arms, the nerves are cut off from getting oxygen and nutrients that they need to survive. Um, and also, it's a case of, because you're in so much pain, you don't walk much. And when you do, your muscles tend to stiffen up a lot. At least that is my case. It's different for other people, as I've said before. Um, and the same goes for muscle loss. By not being able to walk a lot, and for those that have become totally wheelchair bound, or what have you, you lose your muscles. Even though you can work them out and have people work them out for you, you still lose your muscle. And it's just something that can't be avoided. At least not in my case, and in a lot of other people's cases. Um, and then there's the bad one, paralysis. Sometimes the scar tissue gets so bad around the nerves that it starts to calcify. And by that I mean it starts to harden, and it becomes a solid brick of nerves that are no longer functional. So you no longer can operate your legs and your lower body. And I pray, I don't know of anybody, but I pray that nobody has cervical arachnoiditis that affects their upper body and what have you. Um, that's the scary part of all this. The next thing I want to talk about is heat and cold intolerance. Excuse me. I have heat intolerance. I swear, sometimes if the temperature rises just 1 degree, I get extremely hot. I have hot flashes, much like a woman going through menopause. And jokingly, my wife always says I have menopause because she's a goofball. But I can't handle the heat. And yes, I live in Arizona. How funny is that? Um, I can't. I sweat a lot. I have 4 gray hand towels, and there are days when I soak every single one of those, and that's just sitting in my wheelchair. Which, by the way, I use a lot around the house because it hurts so much to walk. Um, so that's and people with cold intolerance. I don't know how it affects them because I'm not. I don't have that problem. I love the cold. Um, so I don't know how people with cold intolerance how their body reacts, other than maybe aching a lot more when it is cold than they would if it was just warm outside. Um, now we'll go back to muscle spasms and muscle rigidity. I've already talked about those. The spasms they're involuntary. Well, none of them are ever voluntary, I guess. Anyways, I have this. All of a sudden, sometimes I'll stand up, and all of a sudden, my all the muscles in my legs will I mean, all of them at once will spasm and become just solid as wood. It's just like turns into solid cement all at once. And I've fallen over because of this, because I've gotten up from a sitting position and I've stood up and my legs went into these spasms and I have fallen down. I have taken so many falls in the last 3 years, 4 years, that I can't even count anymore. One of them actually fractured one of my vertebrae, but it was not a bad enough fracture they needed to do anything to help with it. So, excuse me again. And we'll go back to the electric shock sensations. Um, Sometimes it's just like you barely stuck your finger in a light socket, just a little bit of a jolt. Just it's annoying, and then it gets worse from there. And like I said, in my case, I feel like somebody's poking me with the cattle prod and trying to prod me along, I guess, and it hurts and it makes my legs do that stiffness thing. And when it finally calms down, I am so sore, and that leads me into the next thing: Charlie horse feelings. Because of these spasms, because of the electric shocks, in my case at least, I can't speak for anybody else, but in my case, I get Charlie horse feelings, like tons all over my legs. There are sometimes when my calf muscle spasm, the muscle stays hard for hours, and I have to keep rubbing it and massaging it until I can get it to soften up. Um, the next thing we're going to go into is headaches. I don't know if mine are caused by the arachnoiditis or not, but I do know that because of arachnoiditis, because it in it's the inflammation of the arachnoid layer in the spinal cord, it blocks the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid. Excuse me. When it happens, some people get headaches. I don't know if that's what's causing my headaches because I do have a history of migraines. But being as my headaches are in the back of my skull, at the base of my skull, and not through the rest of my head, it's kind of an indicator that it possibly is the spinal fluid being blocked. Other people they know for a fact are coming from the fluid blockage. They also have spinal headaches, and that's where that fluid has, for some reason, is leaking out. Um, And that's that's worse than any migraine I've ever had. I've had one spinal headache, and I wouldn't wish that on the devil. That's how horrible it is. So these people that have the fluid leaks, I pray for them. I mean, I don't know how they do it over and over and over again. Um, the next thing I want to talk to you about is bladder and bowel problems. Now, they go a bunch of different ways. In some cases, some people become completely incontinent. I, fortunately, so far, have only one issue um, where I will stand up after sitting for a while and not having any indication before that I have to urinate. Excuse me. But when I stand up, all of a sudden, my bladder acts like I am full, like 10 gallons full, desperation full. And I will rush to the restroom and get there, and sometimes it'll be just maybe an ounce, but other times it will be a full bladder. So it's real tricky on that. Bowel incontinence, I had that before I had my last surgery. Um, it's embarrassing. I'm not going to lie. I had to wear some, special underwear for a little while for that, but the surgery fixed that. Um, excuse me. So that's kind of an embarrassing part about it, but it is a fact of life when you have arachnoiditis. It is. It's sad. Mine. I'm lucky because my cauda equina, or horse's tail part of the spinal cord, has been damaged twice. Luckily, neither time was bad enough to make it a permanent situation, other than what I'm having with my bladder now. Um, Now let's move on. The next thing is we have weird feelings, like water running or trickling down the back of our buttocks and legs. Or in my case, I feel like my buttocks are wet, like I sat in something, like I sat in a puddle of something. And I will check and I'll be completely dry. Other people have the feeling of water trickling down their legs, insects crawling on them, uh, stuff like that. Just really odd, eerie feelings. Excuse me. Um, it's just really weird what this does. And that comes from, as I stated earlier, the nervous system trying to find a way around the damaged nerves to get the signals back and forth like they need to be. The nervous system is a wonderful system that it's able to do that, but at the same time, it's not able to repair a problem. It has to find pathways around it. Um, Another one is numbness in your legs and buttocks. Sometimes I'll wake up and my legs will both feel completely numb. My buttocks will, but my back will be hurting really bad. So I know that that's a symptom of my arachnoiditis. There are days it takes me several minutes before I can even get out of bed. I have to lay there and kind of move around a little bit. I can still move my legs, but they just feel really numb, like stumps. Um, Yet, you get it in your feet also. In my case, I'm a diabetic, type 2, and I have what's called polyneuropathy, which means all the nerves and stuff in my legs are already affected, in my legs and in my feet. Um, I have days where I feel like I'm walking on hot marbles with shards of glass in it. And believe me, that's not a fun sensation. Um, and that, again, ties into when my lower back is hurting really bad. So the arachnoiditis and the polyneuropathy working together, it's hell to live with. It really is. But I have to. I have to live. I realize that after surviving. I have 3 beautiful granddaughters. I'm raising a stepdaughter and she's just wonderful. I have 4 adult children that I love with all my heart. So I need to be here for them. The other thing we deal with, going back to bowels, is constipation. Sometimes, most of the times, it's related to your medications. Sometimes it's because your arachnoiditis has affected your bowels to the point where it keeps you constipated. All the medicine in the world doesn't help. So some of us have to stay on a constant regime of treatment for that. Um, it's a fact of life with us, and it's sad to say that because it shouldn't be. You know, it should never be. As I stated in my first video, this is primarily caused by a doctor's mistake, so it should never happen. But that's for another conversation. Um, we have lower back pain. I don't know if everybody does. I know I have it constant. And it's a variety of different feelings. Mine is a burning, aching, throbbing, uh, just general aching, but strong. I mean, I am talking like level 7 or 8 strong. And when it's at its worst, it's above 10. Excuse me. It's days like that when I wish I could just stay in bed. But that's just not in me. I'm one of those persons I have to be doing. Um, and at the end of this symptoms, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that part about me. Um, Again, we have sleep issues. Wakes us up a lot. In my case, like 3 or 4 times a night, which is too many times. I don't get a lot of sleep, so I'm very sleep deprived, which affects physically and mentally. Um, that goes into vertigo. Uh, Sometimes when when the spinal fluid is blocked and we go to stand up, we get vertigo and we want to, I call it tilt, fall to one side or the other. In my case, it's to my left side. I will feel like I'm already leaning and I try grabbing something to hold on, even though I'm not really falling. Um, so there are other things that can or cannot be attributed to arachnoiditis. Um, there's other aches and pains that come naturally, but every day when you wake up and you feel something new, you wonder if it's a permanent thing, if it's from the arachnoiditis, or is it actually something else? Do I have arthritis? Um, Stuff like that. It's a scary affliction because you just never know. And there is no cure. There's no way to stop it. I mean, there are protocols that can be a medical protocol that can be followed in the early stages of it to slow it down, maybe even stop it. I don't know much about that part. Um, but when you get to my stage, it's drugs or uh, implanting a medical device. I'm at the point because I'm on such a high dose of drugs, medicine, that I've chosen to put in the spinal cord stimulator, praying that I get at least 50%, 50% relief from the pain, because what it does is it blocks those signals going to the brain with a little tingly sensation. So I am praying that I get at least 50%. Um, and that's where I'm at now. This is the last thing, other than increasing my pain medication dosage, that they can do for me. Um, I'm 52, so I've got a lot of years ahead of me, a lot of things to learn. I have to learn to do differently, um, because of all the things that this does to your system. you have to every day pick and choose what you can and can't do. You have to think to yourself, if I do this, how much am I going to suffer? You have to really go down your list and decide. Yeah, the basic things you know every day, how it's going to feel, what's going to happen. Um, but if you want to do something extra, say go to the grocery store, uh, you have to think about it. You have to plan it so you can walk as little as possible or use one of their little electric carts if they have one, to save yourself the pain. Like for me, a simple trip to the grocery store can set me back 2 days. Um, that's because once I walk, I start hurting really bad. And that's part of the symptoms of this. And it's rough to go through. It really is. Um, I wanted to talk to you about my days. My day starts uh, 5 a.m. generally. If I'm uh, if I can get out of bed. Lately, I haven't been able to get out of bed much. I found out that I had a touch of the pneumonia, but I'm almost completely over it now. But I'm a doer. I force myself to get up and do things, and I know it's going to hurt me. But I'm not one of those people. I'm not lazy. I can't just sit around and do nothing. And that's the issue with a lot of us that have this. We're used to being able to go, just run to the grocery store, run to the department store, whatever we need to do, and not worry about being hurt. Uh, we were never afraid of uh, spinal surgeries until this has happened, until we know what has happened to us. Um, we we've trusted doctors. I know I put all my trust in doctors until I found out about this. When I found out that it's 99% caused by a doctor's mistake, I was devastated. I don't know. It really bothers me. But I'm lucky I have a great group of doctors. Uh, it's called the Core Institute. They all acknowledge arachnoiditis, and they do everything in their power to make you as comfortable as possible, including getting the implant like I am. Um, However, they do still do the injections, which is one of the main causes of arachnoiditis. Um, like I said, I'm a doer, and it breaks my heart. Some days I'm hurting so bad that when my 2-year-old granddaughter comes over, I can't even pick her up. I have to have somebody pick her up and put her in my lap just so I can give her a hug. Um, I can't play with her. There are days I choose to get down on the floor and play with her and play with her Legos with her, play shopping with her little shopping cart and stuff. But then I pay for it the rest of the day. But it's worth it. So as you can see, this is a very complicated affliction. No two people are the same. Um, some people it affects in horrendous ways. We've lost a lot of people to suicide because they just weren't getting the right treatment. They weren't being helped out of their pain. In my case, what happened was for 3 weeks, my pain doctor wasn't returning my calls. And it, I went, I went to the office finally and spoke to the office manager, and she said that they weren't getting my calls. And I said, well, I've been calling and I can prove it, And I was getting ready to show her on my cell phone how I had called, how many times I had called in those 3 weeks. And she refused to look at it. She goes, well, maybe we have a computer problem or a problem with our phone system here. I'm like, well, something's wrong because I haven't been getting any calls back. Anyways, I went and talked to him. That was shortly before what happened. These symptoms, the pain, the lack of sleep, uh, the spasms, everything that happens to your body because of this really affects you emotionally. You become a whole different person. You become one who is irritated a lot, who, you're always exhausted, and then that affects you mentally. So you have to daily fight depression, daily fight the anger that you have, not at people necessarily, but at the pain, because you get so angry at the pain, and all these symptoms they don't help. If it was just a simple backache and down the legs ache, not too bad, it would be a little bit better. Not a lot. I'm not saying that there's a big difference there, but the mass amount of symptoms that this causes, and when you have to daily plan out what you can and can't do, what's going to cause you the most pain, what's going to cause you less, and there's never what's going to cause you no pain, because no matter what you do, sitting in your chair or getting up and going to the restroom, it's going to cause pain. That's just the way this is, and the more active you are having this, the more you're in pain, the more the symptoms go, uh, the more you feel. And again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. With these symptoms, when you get new symptoms, new pains, new aches, whatever, something feels different, elsewhere in the body, you have to wonder, is it really something else, or is it just a phantom symptom? My heart doctor had told me, because I thought I had a heart attack one day. I rushed to the hospital, and it wasn't. I did the stress test and everything, and it wasn't. My heart doctor, bless him, he knows all about arachnoiditis and how it affects the central nervous system. And he said it's most likely caused by my arachnoiditis, causing muscle spasms around the heart that's making it feel that way, like it's a heart attack. Uh, he is so very aware of the arachnoiditis. He was telling me things definitely I really didn't know. Um, awesome doctor. So I've been lucky. I've got a good group of doctors. There's a lot of people out there that have doctors that are complete buttholes. Um, and when you call and talk to them about new symptoms, they don't want to deal. They don't want to do nothing with it. Primary care doctors are the hardest ones to deal with because they don't know what to do. It's beyond them. So they send you out to pain managers and surgeons and what have you to check out your symptoms. They have testing done, MRIs, EMGs, CT scans, to find out what's causing your symptoms. And in our case, it almost always comes back to the arachnoiditis because those nerves are so damaged. So as you can see, it's a rough life. Our symptoms, and even what I listed here today, probably is only a quarter of what sufferers feel. Um, I went by just a few stories I've read from people that tell me about what their pain is like. So these symptoms, like I said, it's probably only a quarter of what happens. There's probably people out there that have a ton of different symptoms. I'm sure of it. I know what my symptoms are, and they're different from other people's symptoms, but similar. Uh, I have symptoms in other places in my body. Uh, for instance, the middle of my back. It feels like somebody has stuck a knife in me and twisted it. Um, the doctors don't know why. So they refer it back to my arachnoiditis. So that's about all I have to say today. Um, I'm going to be getting my surgery in about 4 days. After my surgery, when I'm feeling good enough to set up, I will start doing a daily journal uh, of how I'm doing with this. But I ask at this point, if you haven't done so, go to change.org and look for a petition. Just type in the search box arachnoiditis and look for my petition in there. It's I can't remember the whole title of it off the top of my head, but you'll note it's got the arachnoiditis ribbon. Also, go please share this YouTube channel with your friends and family. Get the word out there so they can see what's going on. We need more awareness, and that signing that petition for us, would be incredible. You don't have to have arachnoiditis to sign it. You just have to have a heart. So change.org, type in arachnoiditis, and just look for them, and you'll see one with a ribbon, and that's mine. Uh, so please, I ask you, help us out a little bit. As you can see, between the symptoms, the mental toll it's taken on us, the physical toll it takes on us. We need more education of doctors, more public awareness of this condition so people don't think that we're just being lazy or it's all in our heads. Um, so I plead with you, please go look this up. Again, it's change.org, type in arachnoiditis, and find one with the arachnoiditis ribbon and sign it. And then share it, share it, share it, and share it. And also share this YouTube channel with all your friends and family. Help us get this out there. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great, great day.